So a big congratulations, you bought a mouldy property at auction, and the fabulous thing about it is that you would have paid a fraction of the amount that you would have paid had it been in good condition. And yet, if you want to modernize it, make your own changes, you can be saving yourself a lot of money. So I think I mentioned that I'm bringing out a book that I'm going to call Mould, Friend or Foe. And the whole premise behind the book is mold can tell you a lot of things. So you have two friends. A friend in that you paid a fraction of the amount of money that you would have otherwise paid. A friend because mold tells you that there's a ventilation problem, a ventilation, airflow, heat loss problem that you can deal with very easily. Now, we heard from the neighbors that the previous occupiers used to have a lot of things close to the wall. Well, that slows the airflow down, causing heat heat loss along the walls, and yet the vapor will still flow around the wall, so it causes high relative humidity. You know that the no kitchen extractor fan and inefficient bathroom extractor fan, it stops when you turn it off. And anyway, I'd be looking to replace it, have a continuous flow extractor fan. In terms of the heat loss, that's probably something worth considering. And I think I talked to you, but PIR, thermal insulating plasterboard, is the way to go, because you've got a solid floor, so you don't have to worry about condensation within the wall. It can drip onto the floor. You're going to have tiles on the floor, so that's fine. I think I mentioned about the pros and cons of electrical heating versus a wet underfloor heating. Basically, you're going to get a much better return for your money, but make sure that you insulate underneath it, because otherwise you're going to lose all that heat to the ground. So yeah, well done, brilliant, and I'll take you through the survey now. So basically, good news is that it looks a lot worse than it is.
A
lot worse than it is. You have mould here, and shall I just show you here? So you have mould, and you have condensation. Do you see those dribble marks there? That's a sign of condensation. You've got mould in all the places that you would expect to get mould in the cold corners. So you've got 4 corners of this building that are cold, and outside walls as well. So I'll explain exactly why and how to get rid of it. But the good news is it's not a big problem. Once you've solved the root cause, you won't have a problem. The root causes are lack of ventilation. So you've got the bathroom vent is probably not very good anyway, but as soon as you turn the light off, it stops. And that means you're going to get no ventilation from the bathroom. The majority of the vapor is produced, remains in the bathroom when you close the door and turn the light out. So if you don't switch it out, so if you don't have the ventilation going, that vapor is just going to come back into the property. The other thing is the kitchen has the extractor fan has been blocked up. There's no kitchen extractor fan. It's just a recycling type, which does nothing. And then it's likely that they were drying clothes internally. So really, you've got no major problems in this property. What we'll do is we'll use the data loggers, and I'll give you lots of specific advice, but I would put, for example, a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan in, and get a dehumidifier if you're drying clothes internally, or use an externally ducted dryer for the clothes, and put in a kitchen extractor fan. I would also consider insulation, given that you're going to do a lot of work to the property. It's worth thinking about insulation.
Yeah. And then I'm really concerned is the floor, because
the floor,
because like the living room, you can smell the very strong the
Okay, but that's going to be all about vapor, and it's going to be all about managing the vapor. And I'll show you with the data loggers. But what you want to do is you want to keep the internal vapor as measured by temperature, the dew point below the outside temperature at all times. It's very easy to do that with extractor fan, and if you need it, a dehumidifier. And if you do that, you'll never have mould. The risk of mould is virtually zero, and you won't have condensation. You won't have all these. I mean, I actually think that is it's either a paint mark or it's an oil stain from something.
Yeah.
I don't think that's damp, but I'll test it.
Okay.
To bring out a book called Mould, Friend or Foe. And the reason that I'm entitling it that is because when you've got mould like this, you've got the ideal conditions for dust mites to colonize, and dust mites cause allergies, and you need to reduce the internal vapor so that the dust mites don't colonize, because they like exactly the same conditions that mold. So it's not the mold that's the issue, it's the dust mites, but they grow in the same environment. So if you've got mold, you're going to have dust mites, and particularly on carpets like this. So there are three things that to do. One is to get rid of these carpets anyway, but were you wanting to keep them, to vacuum around them. Number two is to reduce the amount of vapor so that the dew point is always below the external temperature, and the third one is to insulate. So if you're putting carpets down, what you want to do is you'd want to have an underlay that provides some insulation. You might even want to increase so there is actually a bit of a lip under the door. So you could have actually some degree of insulation under the carpet or under the timber floor. Would you have timber floor or carpet?
No carpet.
No carpet.
But not wooden floor.
You'd have a wooden floor?
No.
A carpet?
Not carpet. I will put the, how to say, the
tiles.
Tiles, yeah, tiles.
Okay.
Tiles.
But I would have some insulation. Are you thinking of underfloor heating? Or?
I'm thinking.
The challenge with it.
I want to ask you, can you give me some advice? I want to put the floor heating for the whole property, and then,
Are you thinking about an air source heat pump or?
But now it has a new problem. It's like the air condition and the heating all together. That one, I don't know how to call that. My son said it's a.
Well, you can get air conditioning and heating units, but
it's one together.
I'm not really the expert on that, but what you want is heating throughout the building as diffused as possible. In terms of air conditioning, I think it's a separate unit, and you can get them combined, or you can also get a dehumidifier and air conditioning, but we're not a country that needs a lot of air conditioning.
Yeah, but for my view, because I come from Hong Kong.
Yeah,
so
you always have it.
Well,
you'll understand mold better than most people, but you have it because it's very hot in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so that's why the mold issue is not so serious here than here, because this is more wet.
It's a different type of issue, and you have dehumidifiers all the time. My cousins live in Hong Kong, and they have dehumidifiers running the whole time.
Yeah, so it's like a raining, is from the wall.
Raining and cupboards and so on.
Yeah, so but not like here. Maybe, but all the times we will put the wallpaper or the something is the wooden
panels,
panels, to cover, so we can't see,
Okay. Well, so what I'll give you sort of some specific risks that I'm seeing here. So first of all, you've got corners, and you can see that a lot of mould is growing in the corners. So the reason why is you've got extra surface area on the outside, so you get greater heat loss, but also the airflow from inside can't move as easily around corners. So you get reduced amount of heat from the inside, you get increased amount of heat loss from the outside, and what that does is it reduces the temperature of the corner, which increases the relative humidity, and mould grows where relative humidity goes above 85% for a long period of time. So that's why you're getting it specifically in the corners. Where you've got this is that's condensation dribble marks down here. I'm going to guess there was a bed here. I'm guessing that was a bed head, and you'll get condensation dribble marks behind the bed head because you've got the person breathing, so you get extra vapor around the bed head, and you've got the air is trapped, so you're getting very little airflow behind there. So vapor moves through diffusion like smoke, but heat moves primarily through air currents. So it will get the vapor behind it, but it doesn't get the heat from the air currents. So that's why you're getting the dribble marks and the mould there.
Is it? Can I ask you? Is it because next to this wall is the small storeroom and is the stair of the property?
Well,
is it one of the reasons to block the ventilation?
No, it's you get heat loss, but you may get some increased heat loss caused by increased surface area from the stairs, but it's not water coming through. It's not ingress. It's to do with heat loss, and I say specifically here is to do with a bed head. I can't be sure, but it just looks like the shape of a bed head. It could have been something else, it could have been a television, it could have been, who knows. You're getting a loss in the corner. If we look here, it's been blocked up, so, it's, it used to be the best form of ventilation, and in the old days it was the only form of heating, so you get airflow through the chimney breast, and when it's blocked up, it reduces the airflow. But there are better ways to create airflow. If we look outside the windows, you don't have any trickle vents, but actually some of this window here, it's got a bit of a gap. No, maybe not. But either way, or you see how the mould is growing around the window and there as well. But trickle vents are useful, and you can retrofit them. But actually, even better is just having it slightly open, and you can lock it in position so that. Do you have the keys for this? Do you know?
No.
But it doesn't matter too much. You can lock it internally, so that is now locked.
Yeah.
And you can obviously
just open a little bit gap.
So actually, these aren't particularly well put in because you can see the. Well, it's locked up at the top, so that's fine. But that's locked, so somebody can't break in, or at least people can break in by smashing the window if they wanted to. But it gives you some airflow. So there are four sources of vapor in a property, and the human being is the greatest source.
Yeah.
We produce about 3/4 of a litre per person per day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So showers is about 1/2 litre per person per shower, per shower rather than per person. Drying clothes is about 1/2 litre per person per day, and cooking about 1/4 of a litre. But it depends a lot. If you cook with a wok, it will tend to evaporate lots of steam, and if you do lots of boiling,
So I'm really concerned to buy the hook. Is the really strong power?
Well, what I would say is try different ones out. You want to think also about the sound, because if it's noisy, you just won't use it. So you should have it going up and across and out. There is a hole there. Yeah. You can put in these adjacent ones. In my opinion, they're not nearly as good because the vapor can diffuse so easily from there, and if you have the doors open, you know, you're more likely to get vapor going that way than it is that way, or at least just as easily. You have to think always what it would be like if somebody was smoking in the house. If somebody is smoking in the house, and even with a strong fan on there, you're likely to smell the smoke in that room. But if you're using one of these immediately above, then it's less likely that you smell the smoke. So that vapor diffuses like smoke. It's Brownian motion. And you're getting it all over these. I mean, I'll have a look on the outside to see if there's... Oh, the other risk that I was going to say is that radiators, ironically, are a risk, because when they're not in use, you get the water slowly moves around and it creates heat loss, and the metal also as well. And you'll find that you get a lot of mould around the piping. So not a lot you can do about that. You can insulate, you can box it, you can have just a small amount of heating going, but more important than everything else is to keep the internal dew point below the external temperature. That's Dew's law. I'll put it more in the video and report.
Okay.
Oh, you've
So
got a
now
few
you
spiders there.
this video, you will send it to
Yeah, to you. Yeah.
Because I'm not 100% understand, but I think my son, he would like to know that as well.
Okay.
Because he will living with me, yeah.
Okay.
So that's why.
Well, good. So you can just refer back to it anytime. And any of my other videos, you know, I'm really consistent with all the...
Yeah, so I really concerned is that I want to do the floor heating.
The underfloor heating.
Is it good? Because I don't want to put the radiator.
Well, I think I obviously can't speak for underfloor heating, but the one thing that you have to be aware of is that it obviously takes up some degree of space as solid concrete floor, and you don't want to lose lots of heat to the area below the underfloor heating. So you need to be putting in insulation, like PIR, Kingspan type insulation, and that's normally about 100 millimeters thick. So it may mean breaking the concrete screed, but you know, you obviously just get builders and quote for it.
Yeah, because the builder suggests me they have the two ways. One is by water, and another one is by electricity.
That's quite expensive though.
Yeah.
It's like 3 times the cost to run that.
Yeah, but radiator, I'm not really like the radiator, because you know.
But even with electricity, you really should have insulation underneath it. And I don't. It's not actually the thickness of the pipe isn't the important thing. It's the thickness of the insulation. You'll be just losing. You'll be heating the ground underneath the house if you don't have sufficient thickness.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not an expert on insulation, but I see a lot of insulation failures as well as successes.
Oh, so now the floor heating is not so successful at the moment. So your personal opinions, you're not highly recommend.
If you're going to go for ground source or air source heating, it makes sense to do that. If you're going to spend a lot of money on the flooring and you don't want to be retrofitting it, all I'd say is just make sure you're fully insulated, because it will be very, very expensive to run. And I would tend to think about the wet system rather than the electrical system. I think in long term you'll find it's quite expensive running electricity.
Yeah, I know. I asked that